All right. Good morning, my hatters. Had an interesting subject that I wanted to bring everybody's way this morning. It was something that I had found while I was squirming down the wormhole of YouTube not too long ago, and that was the topic of divorce, and more specifically, it was about no fault divorce, and I seen some articles from seen some articles on the internet from feminist blogs. I've seen them from liberal opinion pieces, CNN, and it was all on the concept of no fault divorce being targeted and how it was supposed to be ending people's right to get a divorce. And I wanted to shed some light on it because I had actually did some digging of my own that I thought was pretty interesting. But before I get into that, I wanted to say good morning. Well, morning for me, afternoon to my moderator, Black Angel TV, always throwing that love of brothers way, always making me feel special, and always reminding me that that Diary of the Mad Hatter ain't one, it ain't even two. It is all of you. Damn, that's another catchphrase I need to write this one down too. Hold on, I'm gonna use the so just some random thing here. It's my fast track bill that I had like 3 months ago. So hold on here. And whoever keeps dropping them hearts, you got mine forever. But we ain't gotta know who that is. I already know who that is. Yeah, so there you go, right there. Diary of the Mad Hatter ain't one, it ain't two, it's all of you. I'm gonna probably coin that one too. I actually like that. Yeah, so the concept of divorce is a sensitive topic to a lot of people. I don't know why, but you can't win them all. I understand that. Yeah, I that is definitely something that I plan to do. I'm gonna put that on. There's a lot of things that I want to put on the shirt, and again, I just want to get much. Is that you making all that noise? Okay, carry on. I almost uh I almost pulled out my gun. I didn't pull out my gun. You know who was at the door though. Okay, I'm gonna pause the Facebook Live real quick because I have to do a thing here. Okay, crud. Okay, I guess it just automatically ends with that. Okay, so okay. All right, so where was I? I was on about I was on about the concept of divorce, right? And since it is just two of us, I wanted to talk about something that I've seen here, and I'm gonna pull it up. Right, excuse the porn. Okay, let me see here. A hold on here. Where am I supposed to be looking at? It's supposed to be okay, hold on. News. Here we go. Okay, so I seen this piece from CNN, and it was saying it's the right's move against no fault divorce is an attack on women. And I don't know, maybe it's just my personal opinion, but I didn't see it that way. And here's my opinion as to why I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way simply because if anything, no fault divorce is an attack on people who are trying to hurt people. You know, you don't really want to be in the marriage. You're in it for, some kind of long-term gain or something like that. And then of course, when you get bored or you don't want to put the blame on yourself as to why you are leaving the marriage, well, now you just can't do it anymore because at the end of the day, there are certain people, men and women alike, who take marriage very seriously. And obviously, love isn't one of the things that's part of the vows. Last I checked, but it is something that is, I guess, important. But we talk about, all the other things, saving yourself, rich for better for worse, till death do you part. And not a lot of people are death till they part. They're, boredom doing part. Boredom doing part. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna probably hold on. Let me write that down too. I'm gonna write that one down too. I can either do it this one or wait, hold on, let me. I don't even know if I spelled it right, but I don't care. This probably won't sell, but okay, so said the first one here is boredom did them part. And then I was gonna put the second one here is no fault divorce till boredom do you part. Either way, I thought that was pretty catchy. Now I was just gonna I definitely did a terrible job at housekeeping when I ended the live stream yesterday. So I lost my train of thought. So yeah, I was gonna do a scripted video this morning instead of doing a live stream. But I figured, and I'll just do a live stream about divorce. And I thought it was something that could be somewhat catchy, something that was really important because that was what I changed my topic to yesterday. Because I didn't really have anything to talk about until like before I decided to get offline. But since I know, now what I have to do, I have to start adding things on so I can have more cameras. I'm gonna add more cameras and add more of this, that, and the third, so that the live streams can have multiple cameras. And I have to work on getting that intro thing, but I don't think I can do that with Zoom. I don't know, man. I will have all of that figured out soon enough. So I gotta make some more money, put some more investments in, so that Diary of the Mad Hatter can be good for all of you, because that is the most important part. You know, I can't emphasize that part enough. Diary of the Mad Hatter is definitely for you guys too. And I know a lot of people don't watch. I know a lot of people don't watch my channel pretty often, and it is what it is. But that does not stop me from trying, because regardless, I do enjoy this. This is therapeutic for me. Lame as that sounds, and I know it sounds lame, but it really does, it does help me. And I don't even know who came in here, but they dropped a like and disappeared. So I'll thank them one way or another. Yeah, but I hope this thing don't keep saying private, because the chat room is open. Okay, and for some sick reason, hold on. Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying, the chat room is, the Diary of the Mad Hatter is definitely therapeutic for me, and it's definitely something that I want to give to all of you. So I may not know everything that's going on in the world, and that is not your fault, but there are some things that are pretty important that I think people will talk about, because let's just be honest, when it comes to marriage, a lot of men don't want to do it. Why don't men want to get married? Because a lot of men are scared of being part of that 10 to 15%. Now, what is that 10 to 15%? That 10 to 15% is the number of people who pay alimony in a divorce. Now, obviously, that's a really small number. That's a very small number. It's minuscule at best, because you think about all the divorces that happen in this country. You think about all the divorces that have happened over the last 2 centuries. There have been a numerous amount of them, but think about this. Divorce rates have, now let's just put this in a perspective, because I think this is something important too. Now, since no fault divorce has been initiated, divorce rates have gone down. Yes, they've gone down. I can't remember how. I can't remember what was the how much the percentage was down by. I think it started at like 21 and then went down like 14% or something like that. I can't remember. I have to actually look it back up. And you know what? Let me not be lazy. Let me here open up a new tab. Okay, so divorce rate. Okay, no, this isn't. Okay, so according to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. The divorce rate for second marriages is even higher, at approximately 60 to 67% of second marriages ending in divorce. Oh shit, no, that ain't what I'm looking for. Okay, divorce rates have been falling slow. Here we go. This is what divorce rates have been falling slowly over the past few decades, but still remain higher than they ever were in the early 70s. According to recent data, about 30 to 35 to 50% of first marriages end divorce, while second marriages have a higher divorce rate of 60 to 70%. Now, what was I'm trying to see what the divorce rates was in the 70s. So based on the latest data from US Census Bureau, the divorce rate in the United States was 7.6 per 1,000 in 2019, with about 827,261 divorces being registered that year. Since 2000, the number of divorces has reached 8.3 million. But I'm trying to see what was divorce. I'm trying to find what divorces were like in like the 70s, 80s, or whatever. But can't find a article. I'm trying to find an article that okay, so yeah, it said national marriage and divorce rates declined from 2011 to 2021. Okay, and this is from census.gov. DeAndre Churchill, thanks for showing up to the Facebook one. If you can go over to the YouTube live stream, that'd be grateful. If not, that's cool too. Trying to talk about divorce on YouTube, so I'm trying to get everybody to check it out there. Okay, so let's see. In 2021, the marriage rate was 14.9 marriages in the last year per 1,000 women, down from 16.3 a decade earlier. Now, let's look at the reasons for the fall of marriage rates, right? The fall of marriage rates is pretty simple because everybody knows about no fault divorce. And even myself, who, even though I had gotten divorced for a legitimate reason and I filed because I'm part of that 20%, I emphasize that a lot, which is nothing to be proud of, by the way. Even though I had a legitimate reason, my attorney still had processed it, and the Circuit Court of Virginia processed it as a no fault divorce. Why they did that, I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to make my ex-wife look bad. And at this point in time, I don't care who looks bad in it. Nobody left that, neither one of us left that ordeal unscathed. Okay. But the thing is that with no fault divorces, a lot of marriages that end, even if legitimately, they always come down to under the clause of no fault divorce. And so no fault divorce already has a bad rap because there are so many marriages that end in no fault divorce when there is really just no issue there. There's no cheating, no abuse, no substance problems, no anything. And right now, the best example on that would be Tia Mowry and what's that dude's name? He was in Battle Los Angeles. Good movie, by the way. I love that movie. Hold on. Let me look that up real quick, cause okay, I don't even know if I spelled that right. Oh, that was his name, Corey Hardrick. I think I pronounced that right. If I didn't pronounce that right, don't sue me, okay? Pretty please, with sprinkles. But they pretty much had a no fault divorce. She literally left him for no reason. Who else was a good example? It was the comedian. I love that guy. Can't remember, but the white guy, not Bill Burr. I love him too. But who was the other one? Filthy K. Hey, if you could switch over to YouTube and watch the live stream there, I would be more than grateful. Pretty please do that. But Gary Owen, that was his name. Gary Owen. He is the other prime example. His wife had left him, and the divorce was a no fault divorce. The funny thing is his wife was black. Now, race obviously has nothing to do with this here, but because this is across the spectrum, and I want to look at something here. I want to look up some statistics from no fault divorce. Right, and I'm going to look this up right now. Okay, well, first let me get this because I think this is pretty interesting. To me, it is. So to me, this is pretty interesting. It says in California, you get a divorce by starting a court case. No one has to prove someone did something wrong to cause a divorce. This is called a no fault divorce. You can get a divorce even if the other person doesn't want one. You can divorce to end a marriage or domestic partnership. Now, think about that for a second, right? You you wake up one morning, everything is fine, you think you're happy, you go to work, you do your thing, and all of a sudden you come home and you got a paper in your hand from your spouse saying you want a divorce, and you're thinking you just woke up one morning, everything was fine, and now marriage is ending. Like, what happened? And usually the reasons are always up in speculation because nobody, more often than not, when it comes to no fault divorces under no legitimate reasons, there's really no understanding of how or why that is why that happened. So I'm still trying to look up some statistics here. Now, obviously, with most divorces, the number one cause of divorce is lack of commitment. I think I've stated that on a many of occasions. No fault, which could go under no fault, but at the same time, there. What's the best way of saying it? At the same time, even though lack of commitment can go under no fault, when you put it under no fault instead of saying, hey, lack of commitment, it just looks bad, right? And I know that another one, like I know the mutual divorces, I believe they call that one irreconcilable differences, which is also bad, but it comes under, but you don't have to put, I don't think you have to put that one under no fault. Okay, so I want to read this article to you. This was from the Washington Examiner. And actually, this one is from August 13th, 2019. And it says here, until sued for divorce, many spouses have no idea they can be divorced without cause and against their will. And that's something that I was just giving an example to earlier. You wake up one morning, everything is just fine. Kiss your wife, or you kiss your husband, you go to work, you come home. Next thing you know, you're finding out you're getting divorced. Okay, so this person also goes on to say, I am a lawyer and I too was in the dark right up until my husband left. So why is this violation of the US Constitution that has shattered innocent lives not on the agenda of any candidate running for high office? 50 years ago, this summer in 1969, California Governor Ronald Reagan signed the first no-fault divorce statute in the law. Since then, all states have enacted similar legislation, despite early applause from lawmakers that these laws would serve couples that have negatively altered the landscape of marriage and family in the United States and violated the United States Constitution. Okay. The 14th Amendment mandates that no person be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Now, I don't completely understand that, and that's just my lack of understanding. You can read me for that later. Okay. The amendment procedural protections include the plaintiff's obligation to assert grounds, the defendant's right to be heard, including the right to cross-examine and call witnesses and offer evidence, and the right to impartial decision-making. But spouses sued for divorce have no right to their day in court. No weighing of evidence takes place. Only one spouse needs allege without proof of specificity, irreconcilable differences, or that the marriage has irretrievably broken down. So basically, you ain't got to prove none of that. All you got to do is just say, I want a divorce, and what you thought was a happy life is gone. No allegations of harm or misconduct are required. You ain't got to cheat or beat your spouse. Simple as that. All right, green apple is gone. Set that one right there. And we're going to go to the strawberry lemon. Y'all can make fun of me for that later. Okay. The word of the person who wants a divorce is alone enough. Before passage of no fault, marriages were dissolved on the basis of marital misconduct, such as cruelty, abandonment, and adultery. Simple enough, right? Now I've heard plenty of people, I've heard plenty of feminists come and say, well, if you sue for divorce formally and with all reasons, then your husband might come and off you. But the same can be said to the other side, right? Because you got to remember, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Now, what about that 20 to 30% of men who initiate divorces as well? They could be also in that danger. Again, like I said, against my wishes, my divorce was no fault. People who know me know the reasons, and I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say them online because, again, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or try to put anybody on blast or anything like that. I'm just trying to get a point across about divorce. Okay, so reading on, just like every other lawsuit, plaintiffs had to allege and prove a violation of their legal rights. Take, for instance, Ike and Tina Turner. That one was a classic. But lawmakers abolished this requirement in divorce cases. They claimed it encouraged animosity between spouses, drove up litigation costs, and led to institutionalized lying with the latter. Even if both spouses were innocent but wanted out, one still had to take blame. And at the end of the day, that's okay. If you put in irreconcilable differences, then you're mutually parting ways. That is something that's understandable. The love just ain't there between the two anymore, and both wish to just end it. That's one thing. Or if one was cheating, or if one was abusive, or if one was doing drugs, or if one just decided you're doing everything and I'm doing nothing. That's lack of commitment, by the way. Then that's completely and entirely understandable. So then it says here, let's see, continuing. Legislators further mentioned no fault would drive down divorce rate, decrease spousal hostilities, and lower litigation costs. The opposite occurred. So let's just put that into the air. The opposite occurred. Because again, as I explained earlier, divorce rates went down, yes, but marriage rates plummeted. So fewer people have been getting married. Let's see. The decreased spousal hostilities, dude. You divorce somebody for no reason, they're gonna want to be. They're gonna have some hostilities. You just left me for no reason. I thought everything was cool. What the hell is going on, right? That's now lower litigation costs. I don't know. I didn't check the numbers on that. By 1980, the national divorce rates had doubled to 50%. The number of matrimonial lawyers exploded. Yeah, because it became an industry. I mean, it became incentivized. Like, dude, all you gotta let's just go to family law because that's where the money is. Everybody wants to get divorced. Now, of course, then divorce rates have lowered because marriage rates have lowered. It's hard to get a divorce when you're not married, right? These laws also transgress the constitutional guarantee of substantive due process. In its decision legalizing same-sex marriage, the United States Supreme Court reiterated the fundamental right to marriage and its sweeping benefits, everything from companionship and security to safeguarding children, to tax, inheritance, health insurance, and myriad other benefits. No fault, however, renders these rights hollow. Damn it, what was I? I was just they must be forfeited without cause or compensation. The fallout from no fault divorce has thus been financially, emotionally, and physically devastating to divorced families with increases in poverty, suicide, depression, drug and alcohol abuse, and more. And because most of these divorces are initiated by women, most of these negative impacts have been done on by men. So it's men who have increased suicide, it's men who have increased poverty, increased depression, increased drug and alcohol abuse, and more. And of course, according to several feminists who have talked about this, they have said that the decrease with no fault divorce, suicides of women have gone down. But from what I've researched, and I have to actually look it up again, it wasn't by much. Whereas suicides in men have almost doubled, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look these stats up again because I can't remember. I was looking this up like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't write this down like any normal person would. Okay, so adultery has been normalized. Approximately 1 million children a year become divorce statistics. So every year, 1 million children are becoming part of this divorce dynamic, which is very unfortunate. Because again, this is something that has affected my own daughter, my oldest daughter. Because when she was born, her parents were married, that being me and her mother. Okay, although the divorce rate has decreased in recent years, it remains much higher than pre-no fault days, and marriage rates have plummeted. As I just said, heard me say it earlier, it dropped from 72% to 50%. Divorce plays a part in the increased rate of cohabitation, with marriage becoming more an entitlement reserved for the privileged. Divorce rates for baby boomers have also skyrocketed, doubling since 1990, tripling for those over 65. So even people who are super old are getting divorced. And for what reason? You're already old. Shit, you might as well just stick it out. It ain't gonna be too much longer before you kick the bucket. Might as well kick the bucket with somebody, right? But even the ladies there are just like, fuck that, I'm out. The Supreme Court held that marriage forms a greater union than two persons and constitutes a keystone of our social order by definition. Then no fault is an anti-marriage. No fault is anti-marriage, bestowing absolute power on the spouse who wants out for any reason whatsoever. And that is a scary thought to have. I mean, you put it into a perspective, and it's just like, dude, if I have to worry about you leaving for any reason whatsoever other than, me being out of order, then it's going to be hard for me to want to be married. Okay. All right. Where was I? It reduces the marriage contract to one terminable at will, making it no contract at all. Now, if I'm not mistaken, marriage is supposed to be a contract, one that you can't just terminate because you're bored. There has to, because when you put it into perspective, no fault divorce actually makes a contract breachable, because at the end of the day, if you're just leaving for no reason, that's a breach of contract. In most cases, you can be sued for that. And it's unfair to the victim of the no fault divorce claim. So yeah, people will say, it's forcing people to stay. No, it is not forcing people to stay. It's saying If you want to leave, by all means, leave, but have a good reason. If you're leaving because you want to leave, well, cool. And I'll take it a step further on that later after I finish reading this article. Any grade schooler can understand this patent unfairness. Later in life, Reagan told his son Michael he regretted signing California's Family Law Act. My divorce was final in 2009, 1 year before New York became the last state to adopt no fault. I counted myself lucky and thought I'd be protected, but lawyers and judges pressured me for years to not exercise my rights. As my lawyer told me, in practice, New York had already become a no-fault state long before the legislator and governor made it official. Although I successfully defended myself against the wrongful charges and hoped my husband would finally come home, he simply moved to New Jersey, where no fault had been enacted. I ran out of options. My lawyer had been right. Since then, I've been writing about divorce and advocating for reform, but repeal and other reform efforts have been routinely crushed. Protesters assert that repeal will remove their choice to leave a marriage, which is false. Ending no-fault marriages would not end divorce. It would just mean you got to come with a reason, because a lot of no-fault divorces usually end with some kind of compensation for the person who is causing a divorce, especially when there are children involved. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want my divorce to be no fault, because I wanted to be able to be with my child. Now, of course, years later, that ended up becoming fruition because, as y'all know, both my kids live with me. My oldest one is with my ex-wife, and she started living with me in 2019 at my request and at my ex-wife's approval, because we're both of the understanding that when she becomes of a certain age, she'll just go right back to her mom. And that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna stop loving her or I'm gonna stop taking care of her. It just means that she's gonna be with her mom on a permanent basis at that point. Because I know my ex-wife, she talked about she wanted to move, and I was like, well, I don't want her to move, especially right now. But when she is ready to make that move and she is of age and she can make that decision on her own, then that'll be her decision to make. And, that will be something that will, I digress. I apologize. So anyway, okay, so as I was saying, protesters assert that repeal would remove their choice to leave a marriage, which is incorrect, ignoring the fact that their spouses are stripped of their rights, which is correct. Because if I'm thinking everything is good and you decide to just leave me for no reason, yeah, that's gonna leave some animosity there. It's gonna leave some problems. It's gonna leave some bad blood. Okay, so state legislators are often lawyers and business people, and the divorce industry is a multi-billion-dollar operation with powerful constitutes who profit from family dissolution. Many women claim reform will roll back progress made combating domestic violence, even when proposed bills have maintained protections and are designed merely to encourage reconciliation in low-conflict marriages. But keep in mind, most marriages are low to no conflict. Most divorces are low to no conflict. Okay, you look at the statistics. Not many divorces are initiated because of abuse, and there is an unfortunate number of scumbags, men and women alike, who abuse their spouses. It is what it is. I can't help that, and unfortunately, I can't change the world. But no fault is not the reason that's going to end domestic violence. Unfortunately, you can't end domestic violence by adding no fault, because at the end of the day, it's only going to be worse if you put it under no fault, because it just means you're absolving him of fault. Yeah, sure. Or you're dissolving her of fault. Sure. But at the end of the day, they're still getting dumped. And, abusive people don't take kindly to get dumped. That's just my opinion. So, I mean, I can either confirm or deny that, but I'm assuming that a person who was abusive is not going to take kindly to being dumped. Okay, so moving on. Those courageous enough to speak up about their horrific experience are called names and punished in family of court, something I've experienced firsthand. Yeah. People who are respondents to a no-fault divorce are usually given a bad rap in court, unfortunately. Particularly the men, considering that most of those respondents are men. Let's see. Researchers recognized early on that many women and children become impoverished by no-fault divorce too. That means they hit below the poverty line, for those who don't know. But you're all geniuses. I'm sure you all figured that one out. So why don't politicians care? Even the New York State chapter of National Organization for Women opposed adoption of no-fault divorce in New York Supreme Court cases in the modern era have marked watersheds in the nation's due process history. In the nation's due process history. From overturning the ban on interracial marriage to recognition of rights of privacy to the gay rights revolution. The Supreme Court has never recognized a fundamental right to divorce. I don't know why. But for 50 years, state divorce laws have nonetheless legislated such a de facto right. If such a right existed, however, wouldn't it logically arise out of the right to marry, without which it could not be exercised? Wouldn't it follow absent fault that the consent of both spouses is required to dissolve a marriage? I would think so, unless one was out of order, which if we have made clear was abuse, adultery, addiction. AAA. Call that the AAA divorce. Hold on, let me write that down real quick. I like that. The AAA divorce. Okay, I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna put that in order. But yeah, the AAA divorce, adultery, abuse, addiction. So I'm gonna coin that one too, the AAA divorce. All right, so let's see. 50 years of this barbaric failed experiment is more than enough. It's time to repeal these unconstitutional laws, uphold the right of marriage, and restore fundamental fairness in our family courts. Beverly Willett, who was the author of this article that I just read, is the author of just released memoir, Disassembly Required, a memoir of midlife resurrection. She is a former New York City attorney and co-founder of the Coalition of Divorce Reform. She lives in Savannah, Georgia. This is just in the article, so I'm not doxing anybody for anybody who's trying to guess that. It's literally in the article. I didn't look up anybody's information and call myself trying to put somebody on blast. But yeah, that is something that is talked about. And of course, who initiates divorce the most? Nearly 70% of divorces are initiated by the wife. In addition, over 50% of divorced wives never want to remarry, while only about 30% of men express the same sentiment. I mean, who wants to remarry when the first marriage was such a goddamn disaster that it ends up being like that? Now, if most women, they'll just be like, hey, look, no need to remarry. I got the first one out of the way. So they still win. It's still a win for them. While 70% of the men who marry, who go through the divorce, want to be remarried. Me personally, And I know a lot of people are gonna clown me on it, but I actually do want to be married again. Uh, the fact of the matter is I do want to have my kids in a family environment. And I think it's fair to them. So I definitely want to give them. I owe my kids that. You know, now obviously it didn't work out in my first marriage, and that is really unfortunate. And unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. But that does not mean that I don't have that my kids are not owed that much. If they get that out of their respective mothers, then that's good. I'm not against that. However, comma, I do believe that I have the power to actually give that to them, and that's really what I want to do. I want to be able to give. I want to be able to give my kids the family environment that they have never had. And like I said, yes, I am. Again, I was married when my daughter was born, so it does it does make an impactful difference between um, how people will view her versus how they're being viewed now, because again, she was she was made by the sanctity of marriage. Now my other daughter was not, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, I do still want to give them uh that that family environment. Okay, now that said, I think I've talked enough. What I will do is I will stick a link in the chat. So if anybody does want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I doubt anybody will though, because surprisingly enough, I haven't gotten anybody to check out the live streams yet. It's been dead all morning. But what I'm going to do is remind myself that I had to bring people in, because I didn't do everything by traditional means, as it were. So I still gotta try to invite people and do all that stuff. You know, fun times, right? Because again, that is a very good question. So my moderator asked me, what will I change in my second marriage? Well, first off, before I get married, I actually have to be very aware of what I want in the person, not just not just physically. Obviously, there's going to be something that I want, as far as, looks are concerned. But one of the things that I will do differently in my next marriage is I will communicate. That was probably one of the biggest flops that I've made on myself, is that I wasn't a very good communicator. That that is completely on me. You know, and even when I did, I was really passive about it. I really wasn't, I wasn't showing that I was being adamant about, my wants or needs uh in a marriage. And again, that's on me. That part's on me, because again, I always talk about I always talk about when it comes to marriage and divorce, and uh, uh bad things going on in relationships, I always say both sides got to own their part in the buffoonery, right? And so that by far is the most important part of all of this is that again, both sides got to own their part in the shit because let's be real. Yeah, there was one side who might have fucked up, but the other side is got to get that smoke too. Because usually, and this is just me spitballing here, but usually the breakdown starts with the supposed victim in the divorce. Now, and like I said, it's not, sometimes the victim just doesn't know. And so next thing that happens, they come home and it's I want a divorce, and you're like, what the hell happened? I don't understand why this is happening. But the reality is that that I always say communication is paramount, right? I emphasize that so much because this is something that I had learned when I was in rehab. Is that communication is paramount. It's basically what brings about a marriage. You have to get your point across. You have to say the things that you want and that you need, because if you don't get it out, then it's like the other person just doesn't know. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if the other person doesn't know, they can't fix it. Because there's one thing that I do know, is one thing that I do understand is that humans aren't really psychic. You can call me on that one. You can call me out on that one. Humans are not psychic. We can act like we know what's going on in every all days of the week, but the truth of the matter is that we are not psychic and we cannot predict this shit. So if you really want to make things work and make things right, yeah, but if you really want to do things right and make things work in it's not even just marriage, just a basic ass relationship. If you really want to make things right, you really have to communicate. If that was not one of the biggest blunders that I had from the marriage that I had all the way to every relationship that I've had after it, is that I refuse to communicate. I gave up. I just quite frankly refused. I just called it quits. And the reason that I was just quick to just call it in the conversation, and when my significant others broke up with me, it was just easier. There was it didn't hurt so much. It didn't hurt so much because it was like, well, I saw it coming anyway. I pretty much got into relationships just to see them end. Just to wait for them to end, just to wait for them to tell me that it's over. And the crazy thing is that looking back on it, is that I made the mistake of thinking that, well, this is what they were going to do anyway, because this is something that I was used to, rather than communicating and letting them know what was up with me, because I assumed that they didn't care, which is another mistake, which is another blunder that is that, I assumed, rather than being like, okay, maybe I should communicate, the problems that I have, maybe they'll understand. But the thing is that I was so used to being shut down by somebody when I tried to do this thing. And again, this is not the significant other's fault. This is on me, because this is a blunder that I made, because I had this expectation of how a relationship was going to work out because I'm just thinking this is just what will happen for me. And the thing the thing of the matter is that I am the common denominator of this. No matter how much I would like to have admitted it or not, but I am basically the common denominator of all of this. And that is why it failed. But learning to do better has been a journey in and of itself. So I did I definitely talk about divorce not as a warning to men to be like, hey, y'all need to run away while the getting is good and stuff like that. No, it's understand that everybody has their part to play in the buffoonery, and whether you like to admit it or not, the only real person that can fix it so that the next time it doesn't go so badly is you. And I mean that on both sides. Both sides got to own their part in the buffoonery. It's something that a lot of people don't want to hear because they'll swear up and down that they're perfect. But having that kind of mentality will, quite frankly, ruin pretty much any prospect you have in bettering yourself and in pretty much any relationship. You know, that's another thing that people really do have to get rid of. They have to get rid of that I'm perfect mindset. But I know that is wishful thinking. So that is something that it's something that I have to just not I don't know how to word this. It's something that I just have to understand, as it were. But that's merely my opinion. Okay, so I'm gonna go silent for a little bit and I'm gonna do a thing while I try to figure all of this shit out. Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, Ash. Yeah. So sorry about that. I had did a whole dialogue. I had been doing this live stream for 63 minutes now, and you missed all the good stuff. Y'all, thank you for coming in. So if both of y'all can hit that like button for me, I would be more than grateful. So here's what I was talking about, because you talking about me being silent. I actually said I was going silent for a minute because I had to do a thing real quick. But pretty much the concept I was talking about was the concept of divorce. And like I always do, I like to leave the link to the Zoom in the chat if anybody wants to talk about it. But yeah, I was talking about the concept of divorce, and more importantly, the concept of no fault divorce and how it pretty much ruined marriage, as it were. Now, a lot of people who have gone unmarried don't know a lot of the ins and outs of divorce, and a lot of people who've never been divorced don't understand the ins and outs of it because it's not something that they look up. Some people, they just want it to be over and then they move on with their lives. But I just read this entire article about divorce, and I'm gonna put that in the chat too, because it'll be a pain in the ass to read twice around. So hold on, let me copy, and then I'm gonna just send it to myself because that is what I do. Then let me see here. Hold on, let me see. Let me see what we got going on here. I gotta go to this tab. Is it this tab? It is not this tab. It is this tab. And then I look at, no, shit. See, I can fix this, right? Okay, so copy link. Okay, and then here is the article to, shit, it's too long. Never mind. Okay. All right, so the article has too many characters in it, so I can't put it in the chat, but I will put it, here's what I'll do. I'll put it in the description here. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in the description. Hold on, let me see, article I just read. So I just put it in the article. And now, so if you're still here, big sis, if you wanted to, no, look, ain't nobody, look, everybody then left now. All right, so since everybody is gone now, I will go back to doing that thing. Oh, wait, no, it looks like everybody is gone, but okay. So yeah, I put the link to the what you call it in the description of the video. So y'all can, if you want, you can go look at that at your own leisure. Okay, that said, hey, Nay, hey, I'm so glad you showed up because this is actually a really good topic that I have been talking about for like 67 minutes now. And the topic was mostly on no fault divorce, right? So a lot of people who I had pitched this idea to thought I was nuts because uh, divorce is really a sore subject, right? And with good reason, because nobody wants to get a divorce. Nobody wants to, lose their spouse. And a lot of cultures outside of the Western world don't believe in divorce, and for the most part, rightfully so, because again, nobody wants to get a divorce. But you know what? And that's a lie because I can't say nobody wants to get a divorce. I need to say it accurately is that there are certain people within marriages who don't want to get a divorce. And it's really unfortunate because, again, like I said earlier, as a person who has been divorced, the process in itself is such a pain in the ass because like no matter who's right or wrong, and trust me, I do understand that matters. when you have a no fault divorce, to you're having to be the bad guy regardless of if you did anything wrong or not. And like I said, I referenced Tia Mowry and Corey Hardrick, and please forgive me if I butchered his name. But and then of course also referenced Gary Owen as well, because you look at two men who love their wives, and they did everything they could to be there for them, and with their careers and stuff like that. They had children together, and I think that is very important. Now, granted, Gary Owen's children are all adults now. You look at you know how the family is broken up, and it's really unfortunate because it's like, dude, they don't want to. You don't want to be separated from your kids, right? And I'll go as far as saying neither party wants that for themselves. Nobody wants to be separated from their kids, and it's really unfortunate that it has to happen that way. But at the same time, when one person doesn't want to do it anymore, regardless of how the other person feels, then there is a sense of betrayal there, regardless of if there was a hidden motive or a hidden agenda, or they just decided, you know what, I want to break up now and it's over. And even if they don't want any financial compensation out of the divorce, it pretty much just turns into, again, the guy or woman who's getting this news is feeling very much betrayed. They don't want that betrayal, and they think that it's unfair, and that they're being ripped off, and that they're being punished for trying to be a good significant other, trying to be a good spouse, for trying to be, what the other person wants or needs. And again, like I said, humans are not psychic. I've always been annoyed by this. I've always been annoyed by this idea that, like, men and or women should already know what the other person wants when they're trying to figure it out. Now, again, that's where I come down back to communication, because more often than not, this gets lost in translation because nobody wants to communicate. And I can tell you right now, when communication gets when communication is taken seriously and is done properly, there there are no excuses. Now, I can't say that no fault divorce comes with some kind of hidden agenda or something like that, because there's there's too many variables. There's too many unknown unknowns when it comes to a no fault divorce, because not everybody is being told everything. Like I said, if a guy wakes up in the morning, his wife makes him breakfast. He's thinking everything is good. He goes to work, works his shift. He comes home, and then all of a sudden, there's the Dear John letter and the divorce summons in his hand. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a sense of betrayal there. And again, nobody wants that. I've never met a man alive who who is just like, okay, well, she wants to divorce me. Okay, all is great in the world. It's just not a thing. Um, I'm a hold on. I'm gonna end Facebook. I'm gonna end the Facebook live stream real quick because I want to show something, assuming that anybody is still here. Okay, okay. From the looks of things, nobody is here. That's fine. Okay, so and I'll probably start another broadcast later. Okay. Okay. So I want to go to this video that I had saved, right? Oh, it's not, that's not a video. It's a post that I had saved so that I can look at it later. Hold on. I know it's in here somewhere. Or did I save it? I know is it in here? I know it's in here, so bear with me, even though I know nobody's watching this live stream right now. What's in here? Oh, here we go. So I actually posted it on my Facebook page. Okay. Shit. This is what I get when I get my brain fried and shit like that. Luckily, nobody's watching right now, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at that later. Okay, so okay, so here's something that I had shared on. Okay, here's something that I had shared on Facebook yesterday, right? And there's 6 pages of this. Yeah, so there's six. Well, actually, hold on. There's 6, 7, 8. So technically, 10 pages. Actually, 9 of the same answer um, about this post here. And the post is right here. Right, it says, "What's the worst financial decision you have ever made?" And even I answered with the same answer. And you look at all the answers. Okay, I gotta get it in the focus so that people can. All right, so I can't put it in dark mode because the post itself is uh pretty much in normal mode. But every answer, every answer going through, well, not every answer. Hold on, let me see how many answers were not the same. It was one that's going to college. YouTube be the snitching. I'm not divorced, so I can't relate technically. Well, you're not divorced, but the concept was about no fault divorce, and so that's kind of the thing there. So it's about no fault divorce. And looking earlier in the video, that was one of the things I talked about. I read an article about it, which I put in the description. Um, and of course, I've been dropping a link in the chat. So if anybody wants to talk directly about it, then then there can be something to talk about on that subject. But right now, I'm talking about this post, which is what is the worst financial decision you have ever made? And -1, which is getting a boat. 2, a guy said you first. 3, trusting fools. 4, buying Discovery Plus. Let's see here. Let's see here. 5 college. 6 meeting my baby mama. 7 living. So 7 comments. Other than that, every comment down this thread was getting married was the worst financial decision they ever made. Now, honestly, if I could honestly say what was the worst financial decision I ever made, it would actually be college. And the only reason I can't say getting married was the worst financial decision I ever made is because I did not have to pay alimony. Yeah, did I have child support for about 4 years? Yeah, of course. But that wasn't a financial decision. That was a life decision. Well, I guess you can say both. I guess if you want to go that far, but when it comes to the concept of, because again, when it comes to the concept of divorce, it is a very serious one, and one that you know certain men, should I say? I can't say men in general because that would be a lie. But certain men take marriage pretty serious. Certain men. So whatever percentage that may or may not be is not up to me to determine, and I don't think any should be up for interpretation because, like I said before, there's too many variables involved to try to make a guess on. And again, it is solely my opinion about that. So hold on. Let me. Um, okay, hold on. I gotta. Okay, so I am terrible at spelling today, so I'm trying to reset up the live stream back up on Facebook so that people can move back over to YouTube because that's kind of like a thing that I do. I know it's lame, but uh, it's all I have, people. It's all I have. That said, hopefully I can actually get people back over here again because today was a shit. I shouldn't have invited that person. That's gonna end bad. Anyway, all right. So, like I said, I had put the link to the article that I read earlier on in the description. And so, and again, that was about no fault divorce. So I'm gonna show up another one. And this was on BBC.com, and this one is called "Why Women File for Divorce More Than Men." Okay, so this one's I don't, this one's a little wordy, so bear with me here. So it says in the opening statement, it says statistically, women call time on their marriages more than men. What's with the big discrepancy? And will it stay this way? Now, my belief is that it is. And it's pretty biased only because of statistics. Now, the statistics say that, between 60 and 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And I did a video not too long ago stating the whys of that. And again, I only use statistics. So, Ash, before you kill me, please understand that I did do my due diligence and making sure that the video was impartial. And I will put, hold on, let me do that right now while I'm playing so that people aren't going to be surprised by it. But I did put I'm gonna put that video in the chat here in a second. I just gotta find it. Oh, what am I doing? I can just do this, right? Because I have several videos. Okay, and this, let me see here. Share, copy link. Then I go to hold on, wait. Okay, so I just dropped the link to that particular video if anybody ever want to watch that in the future. If not, that's fine too. Oh, VS, could you hit the like button for me? I would really much appreciate it. See, I already know I know all the people that's in the chat on YouTube because again, I'm just out here struggle streaming. Like my hairline is struggling to stay on top of my forehead. Y'all know, it's a few inches off, but it's struggling, but it's still there, barely hanging on by like, you know, it's hanging on with borrowed time. So please, pretty please, with sprinkles and gumdrops and sugar and all that other nasty shit, bear with me on that. Okay, so hold on, okay, so because just in case I had to drop this shit again. But hold on. So going back into this article, so it says the decision to end a marriage is often difficult, and couples may spend months or even years soul searching before calling it quits. But when it comes to initiating a split, there's a clear pattern in who makes the final call. In Western heterosexual relationships, women catalyst an enormous proportion of divorces. In the US specifically, where no-fault divorce is legal in all 50 states, some estimates put the figure at 70%. In the UK, ONS statistics show women petitioned for 62% of divorces in England and Wales in 2019. Now, in some Western countries, divorce is becoming easier. The UK, for instance, recently legalized no-fault divorces, which means couples now have a quicker and more straightforward route to break up. This change in rules could open the door for even more women who might have been hesitant before to file for divorce. Why, though, are women disproportionately choosing to divorce in the first place? For some, the answer lies in how partners do or don't meet their emotional needs in marriage. So basically, they're saying because emotional needs, I guess, are not being met, that they just call it, which I think is a little unfair. But again, if there's anything that I've learned from manosphere content and just from the powers of observation, and I know a lot of feminists are going to come at me and a lot of misogynists are going to be like, yeah, speak the truth, brother. This is not for the sake of either. Because again, I don't sell controversy. That's not what I'm going for here. One thing I do understand is that from all of these things is that women are emotional. As a person growing up with a mother, a stepmom, two sisters, having two daughters, two baby mamas, and a plethora of nieces, and boy, are those things a handful. Let me tell you, I understand just from the powers of observation just how emotional women can be. And for all of you guys out there who are emotional too, I'll admit I was that guy once upon a time. I'm not even gonna cap. Unfuck yourself, please. I ain't worried about profanity because I'm not a monetized channel yet. Now, in some Western countries, divorce is becoming easier. Okay, I already said this part. This changes rules, open door for even more women who might have been hesitant before to file for divorce. Why, though, are women disproportionately choosing to divorce in the first place? For some, the answer lies in how partners do or don't meet their emotional needs in marriage. Yet for others, things are more complicated, and there may be more nuance to the statistics than it seems. Something that I had talked about in the video about divorce, and I'm going to make another video about that as well because it's it has been a long time coming when it comes to that subject. Okay, so hold on 1 second. Oh, shit. Okay, so I think I got that right. Okay, anyway, in the UK, divorce is extremely uncommon before 1914, with just one in every 450 marriages in the first decade of the 20th century. Now, more than 100,000 couples in the UK get divorced every year. 100,000. Let's just think about that for a second. Hold on, let me check this out real quick. Oh shit, what am I doing? I gotta open up a new tab for this. Okay, so okay. The population of the United Kingdom is 67.3 million as of 2021. 67.3 people live on two islands. Well, an island and part of another Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom. So 67.3 million people live in the UK. And 100,000 people get divorced every year. And in the United States, around half of marriages end in divorce. So it's just like, why are people getting married if they know that there's a chance that they're going to be getting divorced? And for whatever random reason, sometimes none at all in these proceedings. It's kind of unfair when you put it in the perspective. Because economic independence is an imperative before a woman can attempt to leave a marriage, either alone or with children to support. It's extremely difficult for women to leave a marriage unless they have some way to make money on their own, she says. Also, because gender roles became more complicated as women started to gain financial independence, more marital conflict naturally arises. Basically, when a woman starts to make money, any kind or at any level, then it becomes the whole, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, right? And people go with the independent thing rather than understanding the importance of interdependence, which is a difference. And I believe plenty of content creators, men and women alike, have talked about this sort of thing. And nobody wants to understand. Now, me personally, I get the whole concept that a lot of traditional men want to continue the whole gender roles thing. But again, it comes back to this thing that I talked about earlier about communication, because you don't necessarily even have to have gender roles. You just, when you come together, you talk about, the things that you want done in the relationship between each other. And there's always this thing where, again, I said this earlier, the lack of communication really is imperative in this part, because you can't just say, well, this is what I wanted you to do, and you never communicated it with the partner. Because again, this is how things break down. This is how things come in. They get bad. You can't. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. When you call yourself not being an effective communicator, of course, shit's gonna hit the fan, because you're not giving an opportunity to your significant other to be able to understand your wants and needs, rather than you're just saying, well, why haven't you done this yet? And that does make a hell of a lot of a difference over, trying to expect the other half to be silent. Psychic. Christ, I am terrible at this. Instead of trying to expect your significant other to be psychic, I think it would be more important to expect that, the two of you can be able to talk things out like adults. Okay, so hold on. You know what? All right, so back to what I was reading. It was in other words, women's entry into the workforce enabled them to leave unhappy marriages for the first time. They were no longer financially bound to remain in abusive partnerships or relationships where their needs were not being met, and women thus began to initiate divorces at a greater scale. Now, this is apples and oranges, and this is just my opinion on that, but this is apples and oranges, right? Because if there was, okay, so entering the workforce is one thing, but you can't be unhappy. You can't just be in an unhappy marriage and then to just expect every unhappy marriage is abusive or financially bound. Okay, if you're unhappy just for the sake of being unhappy, or you just wanted to get with somebody else, then that's legit. That's legit concern. But you can't ring those with people who are being abused or being financially held hostage to that same ring. Now that's not to say that all can coincide with them, because that is all possibility as well. But it's not. They're not all one and the same. They're not all connected. So I think that's really unfair to say. You can't just say that every marriage is abusive or every marriage is financially hostage. At the end of the day, if you didn't want if you had planned on leaving the marriage anyway, then why did you say yes? Okay, now if a person is being abusive, then I might understand it, because they might they might do something, and that is an unfortunate reality for victims of such. So I do understand that, but I like to reference Will Smith, the Great American Cuck. He's probably going to sue the shit out of me for that one. But I like to reference Will Smith on this because he worded it perfectly. He said to Jada, he said, "I'm done trying to make you happy, because at the end of the day, the only person that can really make you happy is you." So to say that a person has to make you happy is pretty unfair. The whole point of, and I made a video about this as well. The whole point of a relationship is for two people to come together and remove the inconveniences from one other person. Shout out to Poor Man's Cup podcast, because he's the one that I heard it from, and I did paraphrase that a bit. So, forgive me in advance for anybody who actually can tell me what he said verbatim. Okay, so back to what I was reading. This also helps explain why women with university level educations are so much more likely to end a marriage. I think the manosphere might be seething in their pants here about this one, because what I looked up was 90% of women who have degrees in their marriages. 90%. That's a high percentage. That's almost, I guarantee you're going to end a marriage simply because you got a degree. 90%. That's a huge fucking. Anyway, so this also explains why women with university level education are more likely to end a marriage. Across cultures and geographics, women who are economically able to take care of themselves, which usually is tied to higher education levels, are more likely to initiate divorce than women who are unable to economically sustain themselves and their children, adds Carr. Emotional and social factors. Still, increased economic independence alone doesn't explain why women have become so much more likely to initiate divorces than their husbands. Yet the percentage of women initiating divorces has continued to rise, and the reasons are manifold. Hypergamy, duh. But again, I digress, because I don't want the feminists coming at me talking about it ain't always about money. All right, so for many women, the expectations they have when they enter marriage may fail to match up to reality. Oh my God, the manosphere is going to have a fucking field day with this article if they ever see it. May they never see it, because I can tell you right now, it will not end well if because all it'll do is just reinforce assholes like Fresh and Fit. Anyway, still increased economic independence alone doesn't explain why women have become so much more likely to initiate divorce and divorce. Yet the percentage of women initiating divorce has continued to rise, and the reasons are manifold. For many women, the expectations they have when they enter marriage may fail to match to reality. Experts say that they often have a higher expectation of how a partner will meet their emotional needs than men, which can lead to disappointment post-wedding. Ruh-roh. Gilza Ford Martinez, a Florida, United States-based licensed couples therapist who specializes in conflict resolution, says because men are usually socialized to have lower emotional intelligence than women, which I always thought was a stupid concept, but I'll continue. This can lead to female partners feeling unsupported and doing much of the emotional labor in the relationship, which again, I don't understand and I think it's stupid, but again, that is not for me to lead into interpretation. I'll probably do some research about emotional intelligence and all that good jazz, but right now, the concept to me is stupid. Okay, this emotional intelligence also means women are more finely attuned to problems and relationship red flags. Again, something that doesn't make sense. And their tendency to be the primary communicators and empathizers means that they may also be the first to raise issues, perhaps ultimately resulting in separation or divorce. That makes sense, actually, because this is something that I've talked about more often than not. Communication is paramount. Now, if you say communication and you don't say stupid shit like emotional intelligence, you just say communicate. You just say communicate. It's that much easier. If you say, okay, you're not communicating enough with me, I don't understand what's going on. Maybe let's talk about something. Now, yes, I get it. We as men, we don't like to talk about problems. We don't like to talk about this because most of the time we'll get shut down anyway. But if you're saying, but if a problem arises and a man can be logical and talk about how to fix a problem logically and have good leadership and understand the other side of the problem, meaning both people can actually hear each other out rather than arguing and yelling at the top of their lungs and all that stupid shit. Now I get arguments happen, but if you can actually go about these things, with some maturity, which I think is a better word to use in emotional intelligence, being mature about the situation, then I do believe that communication can be a lot better. And I do believe that with that, it could cause a relationship to thrive instead of it surviving and holding on to one side of the spectrum because a person was already looking for the door. Because trust me, 9 times out of 10, one side is already looking for the door. And they use things like emotional intelligence as the map. All right, so women also tend to gain fewer emotional benefits from marriages, which again, like Will Smith said, the only person who can make you happy is you. Okay, it is what it is. Like it or not, the only person that can make you happy is you. Which could make single life seem more appealing. While married men experience multiple perks, including living longer and earning more money, which is true, women don't usually benefit from their relationships in the same way because men and women want 2 separate things in relationships. Duh. That by now should be pretty clear. Women don't usually benefit from the relationships in the same way. Instead, they bear the brunt of household and child rearing labor, which if a man isn't doing his part around the house and as far as the family is concerned, well, he's a piece of shit to begin with. I mean, you should have saw that one coming. Because again, as a person who is raising two kids, and I'm not raising them by myself, that's I'm gonna make that clear so that neither of my baby mamas start talking shit about me. But I'm not raising my kids by myself. You know, um, if my kids have an issue, they don't have to just go to their mom. They can come to their dad as well. When there's things that need to be cleaned and stuff like that, I have to pull my weight around this piece too. Now, granted, I am single, but in the event that there was someone living here, guess what? They wouldn't be keeping this motherfucker clean by themselves. I would be pulling my weight around here too, because I think that's the right thing to do. I think it's fair to say that, and I made a video about this too, and I called it, it was about, the things that the manosphere don't tell you about what men did in traditional relationships. Yeah, men did their part around the house too. It wasn't just maintenance and stuff like that. They had chores around the house too. Men have chores around the house too. And I wish that more men would pay attention to that, because they just think they just work, pay the bills, and then sit on their ass the whole day. No, men clean too. Men clean up around the house too. And I really, and it kind of sucks that a lot of men either don't know, don't show, or just don't care that that was a thing. That was a thing. Men cleaned around the house too. Even now, like, I don't just tell, I don't. My daughter just doesn't do the dishes and clean the entire house by herself. No, I have to pull my weight around this motherfucker too. I gotta clean too. All right, because I make messes up in this bitch too, and I believe that I'm responsible for cleaning up after myself. And if she makes a mess, I gotta clean up after her ass too. At the end of the day, I'm the parent, but at the same time, after the same, everybody who lives here has to do their part. And I think that's where a lot of women had umbrage with the manosphere with, because the manosphere is saying, well, she has to clean everything, she has to cook everything, and I just get to hum home, sit on my ass, and get my dick sucked. No, men have a part to play around the house too. And I made a video about that. I definitely made a video about that. I believe it was part 2 or part 3 of the Relationship Chronicles. I'm not gonna post it in the chat or anything like that, because that'd just be too much of a pain in the ass for me to do right now. But I am aware of the part, because I can tell you right now, as a person who grew up in a 2-person, in a 2 adult household, should I say, because my dad was married. My dad got remarried in 2000. And he had, and he was in that marriage until the day she died in 2021, just 2 days before my daughter was born. Even if they were separated for the longest of times. Chad, how you doing, my brother? Hey, if you could switch over to the YouTube live stream, that would be great. So I'm trying to get everybody over to YouTube. Actually, I will. Shit, I can't text you, can I? I don't think I can, because I have to. Oh, here we go. I'll text you the link here. So yeah, the link. I just text you the link to go over to the YouTube live stream. So if you can do that, I'd be more than grateful. But yeah, like I was saying, men pull their weight around the house too. And I don't know why the manosphere gave men this idea that they don't have to do anything around the household. And I believe that that's stupid. And I think that's bad. That's bad mentoring. Because you can't just say that everything has to revolve around the man of the house. And, and then there's this whole thing that men fight wars and men have the most dangerous jobs and all that other shit. You gotta understand something. This is 2023. We don't fight legitimate wars anymore, right? We have conflicts, sure, but we don't fight legitimate wars. And I served in the United States Navy for 6 years. I have not ever seen combat, and we had conflicts with Iraq and Afghanistan since I was a teenager. Yeah, I remember the Afghan conflict started in 2001. I was 14 when that conflict started. Okay, I ain't never seen combat. So And that's not a stab at the men and women who did serve in combat, because again, they had an important job. They did a pivotal part in the war on terrorism. Even if I don't believe that it was something important, but they still did their part, and I give them the highest amount of respect because they still did their thing. That said, you have all these things where men are supposed to be looked at as the highest of the high, but in reality, the fact of the matter is that this isn't that time. What the time is right now is that you know we are all working, and we're all and even if the wife doesn't work, at the end of the day, the man still had stuff to do around the house. He still cleaned, he still did maintenance. There was more. Actually, men had more to do around the house. They didn't. Now, even when it came to the basic chores, and a lot of people don't want to know that or admit that because it's inconvenient to manosphere content, and that's really bothersome if you ask me. Now, back to my reading. Let's see. Women also tend to have more close friends than men. In fact, in the United States, 15% of men say they have no close friendships at all, meaning they have a better support system to discuss any marital issues as well as to ease the transition back into single life. It also possible these friendships make divorce seem like a more plausible option. Research suggests that if a close friend gets divorced, people's own chances of divorces rise by 75%. Yikes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say don't have close friends because that's like the dumbest thing to do. I'm a firm believer that if you have close friends, now this is just my belief, not something that I'm advising people to do. I would suggest that people, if they have close friends, to at least make sure that they're if you're married, have close friends that are also married. Not to say you can't have single friends, because single friends are important too, and it really doesn't matter the relationship status, because I don't think that influences. This is just my opinion. I don't think that influences whether somebody gets divorced or not. I want to believe that misery doesn't need company. I want to believe that. Okay, that said, add to this fact that women get primary custody of children in the vast majority of divorce cases. So women may feel they have less to lose when filing for divorce compared to men. In some ways, they are right. Evidence shows men's well-being tend to drop much more dramatically immediately after a divorce. So again, this is one of the contributing reasons as to why marriage. Chad, I know you're watching. Let me be more specific. Reason why more hetero marriages are dropping. I have to be more specific because I can tell you right now, some of my closest friends are actually are not in hetero marriages, and their marriages are far better than any hetero marriage that I've ever seen. And those guys and gals are real MVPs for that. They got that way because some of us women needed them for one thing, so they thought all women would go for it, and those women would have to be in control. You keep it going. Oh Lord, Michael Brown, you are going to be the devil. Okay, so back to the reading. But in reality, this effect can be short-lived. In the short term after divorce, men's overall well-being decreases more, but they report higher levels of loneliness, says Carr. But over time, that evens out, and women continue to suffer from more chronic long-term effects, including the loss of home ownership, reduced financial means, and increased stress from life as a single parent. Ruh-roh. Shit's about to get real. Seeking resolution. Oh, wait, hold on. I skipped a paragraph. Sorry about that. This doesn't mean that these women have more regrets. However, in despite of these downsides, only 27% of women say they regret getting a divorce. 27%. That means 73% of them are okay with the decision they made. Mom. Compared to 39% of men, showing that for most women, divorce-related hardships are preferable to staying in an unhappy marriage. And that's entirely fair. Okay. But my whole thing is if you're unhappy in a marriage, and this goes for men and women, again, I emphasize the communication portion of it. Instead of trying to use popular words like emotional intelligence and all this other dumb shit, I believe that both sides should be communicating what the issue is. Chad, he said facts. I told him we're getting married once and never breaking up. Hey, and you know what? And I'm happy for you guys because like you guys have had more from in that marriage than most people have, in heterosexual marriages, and that's saying something because I mean it. Again, for me, marriage is a beautiful thing. I believe marriage is really important, especially when it comes to families. But when you put no fault into it, then you're saying, okay, because I'm bored or I'm unhappy, and instead of trying to find ways to fix it, you just bounce. And it kind of just makes the point of marriage meaningless. Like, why do it if you're just gonna leave at a moment's notice? Anyway, if everybody can hit the like button who's in here, Monica Brown, Chad C, if y'all can hit the like button while you're in here, I'd be much more than grateful, as y'all already would know, because like I say, like kindness is free. And y'all know how cheap I am. All right, continue reading. Of course, filing for divorce isn't the same as ending a marriage, which research shows women in heterosexual marriages are more likely to initiate the breakup. There are also women who didn't choose to end their relationship, but want or need to formalize the split nonetheless. Now, in those circumstances, I get it. If a guy is running off with another woman or they just disappear, they abandon the marriage, that's completely understandable. And again, like I say, those guys are pieces of shit. Those guys are pieces of shit and they deserve whatever they get coming to. Women tend to be more motivated than men to resolve their marital status. Now that's up for debate, but that is not something that I have not seen or heard. Now, granted, when I was going through a divorce, yeah, I didn't want to reconcile anything due to the circumstances that I will not say on the internet. But it was just not worth trying to reconcile because it would have been unfavorable conditions for me. Hold on, where was I? There are also women who didn't choose to end a relationship, but want to. Okay, women tend to be more motivated than men to resolve their marital status. Again, my ex-wife tried to resolve it, and again, I didn't want to because of the circumstances. Says Katie Spooner, partner and head of family law, Wickenworth, Sherwood, London. She says, based on her client record, most men are happy to remain separated unless there is a new relationship or particular imperative to sort their finances. Now, me, when I was going through a divorce, I didn't have any assets minus my car, which wasn't paid off. So it isn't like I had really anything to lose by ending the marriage anyway. Now, if I were to get married today, then I still wouldn't have much to lose because I came into the marriage with my house, and so that would be something that I would lose. That said, that is not something that I have to worry about when it comes to divorce. For women, however, the need for divorce can be much more pressing. It remains a requirement for divorce to be filed in order to make a financial application, says Spooner, referring to the legally binding process of sorting finances out after a split. Historically, women have had a greater need to do this due to their weaker financial position or their role as primary caregiver, the kids. They're talking about the kids. In other words, married women tend to earn much less than their husbands and are significantly more likely to have given up work or reduced their hours to care for children. Called it. Even if they were the higher earner to begin with, which is a scary thought to think about. If you marry somebody who was making more than you, they obviously, if you wanted a family, they have to give up something to be able to have this family. And I do believe that is a great sacrifice. And anybody who is not trying to make a relationship work, if the other person has made sacrifices for you, then I say that you're a piece of shit. So that's men and women included. If I have to sacrifice to make this work and you still leave, you're a piece of shit. It is what it is. Okay, so this means women who are separated from their husbands without a divorce agreement risk financial hardship because they may not have a legal right to marital assets or financial support until a formal divorce agreement is in place. Filing for divorce might be their only choice to secure assets, even if they did not choose to end a relationship in the first place. Keep in mind, only 10 to 15% of divorces have end with spousal support or somebody getting half the assets or something like that. Only 10 to 15%. But at the end of the day, if you leave a marriage on no fault, there's still a chance that you could still end up with that 10 to 15. You can still get the assets after you leave, which I believe is unfair. And it's hard for somebody to want to get married when they're trying to protect their assets, knowing that if you decided you wanted to leave for no reason, that you could still lose half your shit for no reason. So yeah, of course, somebody's gonna be like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather just not get married because I don't want to lose my shit, which is a legitimate concern. In fact, that'd be a legitimate concern that I would bring up in the event that I caught myself being engaged to be married in a not so distant future. Because again, I do want to protect my assets. I think it's fair and it's right that it's known that I do this sort of thing before I get into a marriage. Because like I said, I do want to be married again. I have made no I have made that no secret. So that is something that is, that is in the cars for me. And hopefully, that won't be a pain in the ass process to go through when that ordeal presents itself. 1 second, I gotta put the Facebook live stream on the charger real quick. All right, where was I? All right, I was reading this article, right? Okay, so Spooner points out a big turning point for women initiating divorce in the UK was 1996, when being a homemaker was recognized as a contribution to the marriage. And a part of me does believe that it is. I believe that it is. Because it is pretty important when it comes to maintaining a household. That's why even when I talk about my daughter's moms, I always say I tell them too. I tell them I'm a provider. That's what I do. Like if I can, I will make sure that everybody is doing good. I take care of my family. My baby mama is my family. My ex-wife is my family. We have children together. We are bound by these kids. My grandma needs something. and I can give it to her, I make sure that my grandma is taken care of. She got 6 kids. All of them are still alive. I'm sure they put in their due diligence to help my grandma out. But if I am that nearby guy, and my dad lives a lot closer to my grandma than I do. She lives on the other side of town. My dad is at the halfway point between them. My dad, my dad, I'm sure does all that he's supposed to do for his mother. But if my grandma calls me and says, "Hey, grandma might need a little of that," I'm a provider, and that's what I was raised to be because my dad is. That's what my dad has always been. Shout out to you, Pops, if you ever watch my video. I don't think my dad watches my videos, though, even though he says he does. He probably gonna kick my ass when he see this one. Anyway, before I keep digressing. Meaning women became entitled to a fair share of assets. Before this, the less wealthy spouse, usually the women, especially if she given up her career, which is an important factor to mention, was only given financial support for basic needs rather than how her domestic laborer had contributed to the marriage. This arrangement is now common in many other countries, meaning fewer women risk poverty post divorce and are more motivated to push for divorce over separation to get their fair share of marital assets, which again, to me, in my biased opinion, and I'm admitting that it's biased, is unfair. Because the way I see it is if you decide you want to end the divorce based on the fact that you were bored or unhappy, which is not in the vows, unfortunately, then, because again, I talked about the AAA divorce. Oh, shit. Fucked up my Facebook live. Yeah, which I talked about in the AAA divorce, and I called it this. I'm going to actually make a video about this too. The AAA divorce, adultery, abuse, addiction. I had to look at that again because I almost forgot what it was. Ha. Judge me later, okay? All right, so this arrangement now common in many other countries, meaning fewer women risk poverty post-divorce and are more motivated to push for divorce over a separation to get their fair share of marital assets, which is what was gained during the marriage. And even though I still say it's unfair, it's still a part of what was made during the marriage. So it's like, what happened during the marriage. If there was if upgrades were made during the marriage, then yes, then there should then there's supposed to be a split in that. Now, like I said, unless the AAA part of the divorce happened, which is again adultery, abuse, addiction, and you're saying he's not at fault, he didn't do anything wrong, I just wanted to end it, then I'm a firm believer that you should get nothing. If you decided he was not good enough, or you wanted something else, or you just wanted to be single again, then I believe that you should get nothing. Just the same, like if a guy was seeing somebody else, or if he decided he wanted to be single again so he can get something else, and he was the sole provider, then yes, I do believe that she should get something, because again, you pushed her out into the streets, and she sacrificed for you, and so yeah, she should get something if you're leaving her with no probable cause. If she didn't cheat on you with Chad, or she didn't become an addict, or she wasn't verbally abusing you or hitting you or something like that, then and you decided you wanted to go about being free and being a man and all that shit, then I believe she should get something. But it all has to be within those parameters. And that's just my biased opinion. Because I know both the manosphere and the feminists are going to come after my ass after hearing that one. Whew. Chad, protect me. I'm gonna need your help, man. I'm gonna need the whole LGBT to help me with that one. And the pick me's and the simps, I'm gonna need all y'all to help me out too. because the extremists on the women's side and the men's side is going to be coming from. Okay, so as for the new UK law, Spooner says that there has been an early rush to file no-fault divorces, suggesting many people have been waiting for the law to change. However, it's too early to know exactly how patterns will shift until the law has been in place for a while. Spooner herself believes there could be a slight drop in female-driven divorces since it's the first time couples can issue joint applications. And again, in the event of a joint divorce where both sides decide irreconcilable differences and they're like, you know what, let's just end this because both sides are just like, we can still be good with each other, but the relationship is just not what we thought it would be, then that's understandable. Because usually irreconcilable differences don't end with alimony or wealth distribution, should I say. It doesn't end that way. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because, I mean, the shit happens. People grow apart. And I'm a firm believer that if you've lasted a long time, then why break up? But at the same time, I also understand that, some people can't believe they can do better. And it doesn't always happen that way, but it is what it is. I can't help that. Let me see. Where was I? Whatever happens in the UK, ultimately, divorces, like marriages, tend to be complex and nuanced. In some cases, filing for divorce is an agonizing decision based on years of unhappiness, which is stupid. Can't emphasize that enough. It's stupid. For others, filing is more of a practical move based on the need to reach a financial settlement, which is selfish and unfair. What's clear, however, is that certain factors, women improved earning power, men and women's mismatched emotional needs with marriage and ongoing inequalities in household labor, means that divorce is likely to remain deeply gendered. So I'm gonna just say this, right? For all the manosphere guys who worry about no fault divorce, I do say this. I watch the reaction channel Abba and Preach, and they looked up the statistics and they said that men who do stuff around the house find that their wives are more likely to want to have sex with them, right? And again, traditional relationships saw men doing work around the house, not just maintenance, not just bill paying, but actual chores. So I don't believe that gender roles are going to be prevalent in dating especially in modern times. And again, I will not sit here and just say that it should be women cleaning everything up and they should just be barefoot and pregnant, because that's a really stupid idea to have. Again, so the feminists don't come after me yet. I'm not a misogynist, okay? But at the same time, I do believe that no fault divorce is pretty unfair. It does more harm than good, because again, I brought up the statistics and stuff like that, and I've read articles, and again, it's really unfair when it comes to no fault divorce. No fault divorce is very unfair, and it does more harm than good, whether feminists like to believe it or not. And quite frankly, to the manosphere's point, it is a reason why men don't want to get married. Now, to the other side of that, I do believe that men have to really pull their weight when it comes to the relationships, because it does make a difference between whether that relationship does last or not. This isn't Married with Children or The Simpsons or what is that damn show? I want to say Family Matters. Who knows? But anyway, you never really a lot of the family shows. You don't really see much of the. Well, actually, it could be like The Simpsons, except the man shouldn't be considered a dullard. So I do believe that there should be, some kind of equality when it comes to marriage and stuff like that. But when it comes to divorce, my firm belief is that if it's going to be no fault, if the man did nothing wrong, then there should be no splitting of assets. There should be no wealth distribution, and that comes if the man is filing as well. If he's filing no fault as well, he should not get any kind of wealth distribution. And if there's children involved, I am a firm believer that the children should be with the father until the kids are of a certain age, especially the daughters. The daughters can be with the mother when they reach a certain age. Because, like I said, both my kids, when they reach a certain age, they will be living with their mothers. And that's just something that the mothers of my daughters have worked out between myself and them. That said, I think I have spoken enough and didn't nobody want to come on and talk about it. So I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm going to bid everyone a good Saturday. And may you have a safe rest of your weekend. And like I always like to say, kindness is free. And I'm cheap as fuck. Stay mad, my hatters. And y'all have a very good weekend. Oh, where's this damn video at? Jump.